And as far as I'm concerned, this not only misrepresents the entirety of Hinduism, this misrepresents the Aghora and their practice, and it is highly exploitative. CNN. Namaskaram, Vanakkam, and welcome, friends. Today I thought I would do a somewhat different video. I want to do a reaction video, and I'm going to be doing a reaction video to something that I have a feeling is going to be controversial, because when this originally aired, it was extremely controversial. And that is CNN's show Believer, specifically the episode handling Hinduism, hosted by Reza Aslan. And this was a highly problematic episode for a number of reasons that I don't really want to get into in this video, but there was a lot of misrepresentation of Hinduism, and to be honest, I had not watched the whole thing until I came across this video that we're going to go through today, which is just a clip. It's kind of like a few snippets from the show. We're going to react to that, and I haven't watched this all the way through. I watched like the first 30 seconds, and I thought, okay, we have to talk about this. So we're going to watch that one. And to be honest, I didn't want to do a full reaction to the 40-minute or 45-minute episode, just because that means like this video would go on forever. If at some point people want a reaction video to that, I'll do it, maybe in different parts. However, I did skim through parts of it today, and to be honest, I found it a bit difficult to stomach for a number of reasons. But that's a video for a different time. Let's just dive into this one now and see what happens. I'm a little bit nervous because from what I saw, it's probably going to be problematic. But here we go.
Hindus believe in reincarnation. Each rebirth is determined by the karma that you accumulate from your previous life, but it can also be affected by Hindu notions of purity. But there is a sect of Hinduism called the Aghori, challenging the very fabric of Indian society. Most Hindus are obsessed with maintaining ritual purity, not eating certain foods or touching certain things that can defile you.
Okay, we need to stop right there. As far as I'm aware, and maybe there are people of different Hindu sects who are watching this who might point out exactly how notions of purity might play into reincarnation. Maybe Reza is referring to rituals that need to take place during the funeral to help with the process of reincarnation, or the rituals that take place post-death to help with the soul's transition into the next life. There might be some traditions out there that have specific beliefs around ritual purity and that influencing rebirth. I'm not sure about that. I would like to see Reza's specific citations and where he's getting that information from. Sure, rebirth is going to be influenced by the things that we consume in this life, but that has to do with the gunas, that has to do with karma. That's not necessarily just a purity thing. Also, this just short clip was kind of what let me know this was going to be problematic. First, the Aghori, they are a specific tantric sect that practice things that are kind of against the grain for most Hindus globally. And my concern is that this show is going to be all about the shock of the things that they do versus actually exploring why they do what they do. Third issue, and I promise we'll get back to the clip. Reza says that we are obsessed with purity. Can I point out that Reza is a Muslim? And they have really strict purity laws about what they can eat, what they can't eat, what they have to do before they pray 5 times a day, who's allowed into Mecca, who is not. It is not Hindus being obsessed about purity. This is something that is a part of all cultures and all religions. It just takes on different forms. So we can already see that CNN is putting out a really judgmental tone about Hinduism, and I fear in this like 2.5 minute clip that there is going to be more misrepresentation, but we'll find out.
What this obsession with purity and pollution has done is it's created what we now know as a caste, from the Brahmin who are at the very top to what we now refer to as the Dalit, or the untouchables at the very bottom.
This is wrong. Obsession with purity did not create the caste system. In fact, the caste system as it's being presented here is very simplistic. And even the word caste is an import from Portugal. It's a Portuguese word that was brought in by the missionaries and the Inquisition when they went to Goa and they tried to invade other parts of South India. There is a stratified society, or there was. It's very different now. Things are shifting. This isn't about, okay, you're born with a certain level of purity, therefore you're this caste, or you're born with a certain level of impurity, so you're that caste. Traditionally, the stratification of society had to do specifically with the jobs that you were doing and what your mentality was. It's become completely twisted and misrepresented, and how Reza is presenting it here isn't exactly how it plays out in India or in the larger Hindu world. So please don't take this simplistic view as being representative of what is actually Jati and Varna, as well as the imposition of caste.
It's the untouchables who do all the work that nobody else wants to do. They're the ones who clean the streets, pick up the garbage, deal with the sewage, things that would defile a pious Hindu.
When body is burning, if anybody...
Also, Reza there assumes that people who are in the Dalit community or people who are doing jobs that maintain society, like running the cremation grounds or taking care of cleaning the streets, these things are super important. He assumes that they are not pious or devout Hindus, or that we in the Hindu world would not count them as pious or devout. Most of these guys, especially since he is in Varanasi, which is the city that I used to spend ample amounts of time in, and I'm actually excited to return to next year. If they're living in Varanasi, this is Lord Shiva's city. They are, by nature, going to be devout and pious in kind of the metaphysical Hindu sense. So he's setting up a straw man here.
He get this, access in his body, power is coming from there.
The Aghori believe that God lives within you, and if God lives within you, then nothing you do can defile you. A very small movement, mostly of ascetics, prove this belief by taking part in ostentatious displays of defilement. They will cover themselves in the ashes of the dead. They will eat rotted corpses. They will drink their own urine.
Oh my goodness.
They will sleep within the cremation grounds. It's an idea that's very difficult for everyday Indians to take part.
Now, I have this question for the producers of CNN. I have this question for Reza himself. Out of the entire scope of Hindu practice, we are a tradition that has living saints. Why did you choose this community to present without context? There's no context here. There's no exploration of the role of prana and tantric rites and what's actually happening. He's right. If God lives inside of us, then the body can't be defiled. This is kind of a staple of Aghori practice. However, my question again is, if you're presenting Hinduism in the scope of believers, why are you choosing a tiny, tiny, tiny sect? I mean, we're talking a handful of sadhus out of the entire sadhu community, out of the hundreds and thousands of sadhus who live wandering India or wandering up in the mountains. Why are you choosing these people? And my guess is because they are exotic and they're shocking. So this is about ratings. And as far as I'm concerned, this not only misrepresents the entirety of Hinduism, this misrepresents the Aghori and their practice, and it is highly exploitative. CNN is going for shock value.
part of. But something remarkable has happened over the last few decades. More and more middle-class Indians, Brahmins even, disgusted with the caste system in India, have begun to adopt Aghori ideals, but through social activism, by taking care of the weak, the hungry, by feeding and caring for the poor, by touching those who are outcasts, the lepers.
Okay, this is not new. This is not them taking on Aghori principles. This is something that is built into most Vedantic philosophy. We have to separate out what is cultural practice and what is religion, and taking care of the poor and of children and of the sick, of humanity as a whole, is really, really essential. In Sri Vaishnavism, we say that Sri Vishnu lives in every single human being's heart. And those who are dearest to the Lord are those who take care of his people, and all people are his people. So Reza really has a vested interest here in painting Hinduism as a whole as being backward and casteist and obsessed with purity. So he's got that on one end. He's got the Aghori on the other end, who are doing like these really extreme aesthetic practices, and they're filming them for shock value on the other. And then it's like, oh, these Brahmins have renounced their Brahmin position to, work with the lowly outcasts. This is complete CNN nonsense.
The sick, and they do this from a place of deep spiritual awareness. They really believe that God lives within every individual and that nothing can separate you from God. It's a beautiful idea.
Once again, that idea is not just in the Aghori tradition, it is throughout Vedanta. It is throughout all the major schools of Hinduism. Okay, so we reached the end. That was as exploitative and terrible as I thought it was going to be. This is also why I did not do the entire episode. Like I said, if people want that, I'll do it. But this is really emblematic of how Hinduism is represented by a lot of mainstream media in the United States. I don't know how it is in Europe or other parts of the world, but this is pretty spot on. And this type of representation is really dangerous because it can spark Hinduphobia in the US. It can spark hate towards Hindus in the US. There are victims, or Hindus who are victims of hate crimes. We had an incident where a Brahmin priest was attacked last year. It was right before COVID, and beaten within an inch of his life for being Hindu. There's constantly stories of temples being violated and things like swastikas being spray painted on them, and all sorts of slurs. Stuff like this, what CNN has put out, it's okay. Let me ask the powers that be. Would CNN put out a similar program about Islam? Would it take a similar tone talking about Islamic extremism? I doubt it. So this is really problematic. Please, to all of my friends out there who might come across this or watch corporate news coverage of Hindus, understand that they have for whatever reason, and only known to them, have some sort of vested interest in presenting only half the truth or misrepresenting the whole thing in order to make a quick dollar. So CNN, I'm really disappointed. That was as awful as I thought. Anyway, I hope you found this interesting. I know it was a short clip. And I hope if you did watch the original Believer series, that this painted it in a slightly different light. Thanks so much. And if you like these reaction videos, please leave a comment, like it. Let me know if there's something that you'd like to see a reaction to. Put it in the comments and I'll take a look. And thank you so much. Hariom.